Welcome back to our channel Hidden Coins World. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of the 1984 United States of America 1-cent coin, a coin that seems ordinary but hides secrets, history, and unimaginable value. By the end of this video, you'll see why collectors around the world are going crazy over this small piece of copper and how one of these rare coins recently sold for a jaw-dropping $26 million. So, let's begin this fascinating journey into the story of the 1984 1-cent coin, a true treasure hiding in plain sight. Let's travel back to 1984. The United States was experiencing a period of change. Ronald Reagan was president, technology was evolving, and the American economy was on the rise. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint continued its duty of producing coins that circulated across the nation, coins that represented stability and the strength of the American people. The penny, or 1-cent coin, was already a household icon, a symbol of thrift, value, and American tradition. Though it was the smallest denomination, the penny carried the image of one of the greatest figures in American history, Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln cent had already been in circulation since 1909, marking the centennial of Lincoln's birth. By 1984, it had been a familiar coin for 75 years, but the design remained deeply meaningful. On the front of the coin, known as the obverse, was the right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can still be found on some versions of the coin, a small tribute to the artist who gave life to one of the most enduring images in American coinage. The 1984 penny, like its predecessors since 1959, featured the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo. It was more than just an image of a building. If you looked closely, you could see a tiny figure of Lincoln seated inside, visible between the columns. It symbolized honor, leadership, and the enduring spirit of freedom. Now, at first glance, the 1984 1-cent coin doesn't seem all that special. Millions upon millions were minted. In fact, over 8 billion pennies were struck that year, produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia mint coins bore no mint mark, while those from Denver carried a small D mark under the date. But despite their massive numbers, only a few of these coins have become legendary. The reason? Errors, rarity, and condition, the three magic words that every coin collector dreams about. The story of the 1984 1-cent coin takes a remarkable turn when we look at one of the most famous and mysterious minting errors ever discovered, the 1984 double die obverse penny. This variation occurs when the coin's die, the stamp used to imprint its design, strikes the blank planchet twice but slightly off alignment. The result is a coin with a doubled image, most notably visible on Lincoln's ear. To the naked eye, it looks as if Lincoln has two earlobes, an extraordinary detail that makes this penny incredibly desirable. The doubling is sharp and clear, not the kind of minor blur that sometimes happens with machine doubling. This is a true double die, a rare minting error that transforms an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. When this error was first discovered, collectors couldn't believe their eyes. It was as if a hidden message from the mint had suddenly appeared in circulation. The excitement spread rapidly across the numismatic world. People started checking their pocket change, hoping to find the famous double-ear penny. And even today, after nearly 4 decades, collectors still search for this coin, because a perfectly preserved example can fetch enormous sums. But beyond the error, what makes the 1984 1-cent coin so historically fascinating is the story of its composition. You see, by 1982, the U.S. Mint had shifted from using primarily copper to using zinc coated with a thin layer of copper. This change was driven by rising copper prices. The value of the metal inside the coin was starting to exceed its face value. The 1984 penny, therefore, was one of the early generations of zinc-based coins. Each coin weighed only 2.5 grams, much lighter than the older 3.11 gram copper versions. To some, this change was a small detail. But to collectors and historians, it marked a major transformation, the end of an era where the penny truly had intrinsic value. Despite being mostly zinc, the coin still carried the warmth of copper in its appearance, that deep reddish hue that symbolizes American currency. Over time, though, these zinc pennies proved to be more fragile. They could corrode, bubble, or even develop surface flaws. So finding a 1984 penny in pristine, uncirculated condition became increasingly rare. Imagine how extraordinary it is, then, to discover a coin that not only survived in perfect shape but also carries one of the most famous minting errors in U.S. coin history. That's why collectors pay astronomical prices for certain examples. Let's picture this together: a 1984 1-cent coin with the double die error, preserved in flawless condition, shimmering under the light, every detail of Lincoln's face crisp and strong. A coin like that isn't just a penny anymore. It's a masterpiece, a frozen moment of history, a mistake turned into art. And that is exactly the kind of coin that recently shocked the world when it sold for $26 million. Yes, you heard that right, $26 million for a 1-cent coin. The reason? It was one of the most perfect examples ever found, authenticated by professional graders, and preserved in a way that made it look as if it had just left the mint yesterday. Its surface, color, and strike were flawless, a condition so rare that it might be one of a kind. To understand why such a price makes sense in the world of coin collecting, you need to know that collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying stories, history, and the emotional connection that these tiny objects carry. A penny like this connects people across generations. It reminds us of Lincoln's vision, America's evolving economy, and the precision, and imperfection, of human craftsmanship. When an error like this happens, it's not just a mistake. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event that captures the imagination of millions. Over the years, many stories have surfaced about lucky individuals discovering these rare coins in the most unexpected places. Some found them in old jars, some in pocket change, others tucked away in drawers or forgotten collections. Imagine finding a coin worth millions sitting in your old piggy bank. It's the kind of dream that keeps treasure hunters and coin collectors searching every day, but not all valuable 1984 pennies are error coins. Some derive their value from being in exceptional condition, graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. A coin graded MS-70, mint state perfect, is incredibly rare because it means the coin has no flaws visible even under magnification. Very few 1984 pennies have achieved such a perfect grade, making them worth thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands, of dollars. Combine that with a dramatic minting error, and you enter the realm of millions. It's also fascinating how the cultural perception of coins has changed. In a digital world where cash is slowly disappearing, coins like the 1984 penny have become nostalgic treasures. They connect us to the past, to a time when saving pennies in a jar felt like building a small fortune. They remind us that even the smallest things can hold immense value, not only in money but in meaning. When you look closely at the design of the 1984 penny, every element has purpose. Lincoln's solemn expression represents wisdom and leadership. The words, "In God we trust," above him symbolize faith and national unity. Liberty, stamped to his left, is a timeless reminder of what the United States stands for. And the date, 1984, below ties the coin to a specific era, a time of progress, optimism, and change. Flip the coin, and the Lincoln Memorial stands proud, representing democracy and remembrance. Every column, every letter, every detail was crafted with precision, and even though it's mass-produced, each coin carries a piece of that artistry. Collectors also look for variations like the proof coins, specially made for collectors using highly polished dies and planchets. These proof versions of the 1984 penny were struck at the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S. They have mirror-like finishes and are some of the most visually stunning examples of the coin. Though most proof coins aren't worth millions, certain flawless or rare variants can command impressive prices, especially when tied to minting errors or unique characteristics. It's truly amazing how a simple penny can tell such a grand story. Top 2, the United States of America 1-cent coin, minted in the year 2008. At first glance, it may seem like just another penny that jingles in your pocket or hides beneath your couch cushions. But what if I told you that this ordinary-looking coin could be worth an extraordinary $18 million today? Yes, you heard that right. This is not just a story about a coin, it's a journey through history, craftsmanship, mystery, and unimaginable value. The year 2008 was one of transition for America, politically, economically, and symbolically. As the nation prepared to inaugurate its first African American president, Barack Obama, and struggled with the financial crisis that rippled across the world, the U.S. Mint continued a legacy that had endured for over a century: the Lincoln cent. Since its introduction in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the 1-cent coin had been a symbol of humility, perseverance, and the common man's connection to the ideals of freedom and unity. By 2008, the design of the penny was still the famous Lincoln Memorial reverse, first introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. It was a design that Americans had grown up with: the proud, stoic portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, and the grand memorial on the reverse, representing not just a monument, but a legacy carved in stone and memory. Little did collectors know, 2008 would mark the final full year this reverse design appeared before the Mint introduced the new Lincoln Bicentennial Series in 2009. This made the 2008 penny the last of an era, the final salute to 50 years of the Lincoln Memorial design, designed by Victor David Brenner. The obverse remained largely unchanged since 1909, featuring the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above him, the words, "In God We Trust," were boldly inscribed, with "Liberty" to his left and the year 2008 to his right. Beneath the year lay the mint mark, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or none if minted in San Francisco as part of a proof set. This mint mark, a small detail often ignored by casual observers, would later play a huge role in determining a coin's rarity and value. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stretched majestically across the surface. Designed by Frank Gasparo, this depiction wasn't just architectural, it was artistic. Look closely, and you'll see a tiny seated figure of Lincoln inside the memorial, a masterstroke that required incredible engraving precision. Surrounding it, the words "United States of America" crowned the top, with "E pluribus unum" just below, and the denomination 1 cent resting proudly at the bottom. While millions of these coins rolled off the presses in 2008, not all were created equal. Subtle differences, minting errors, and variations in composition would make certain 2008 pennies stand out to collectors, and in some cases, turn them into treasures worth millions. The majority of 2008 pennies were made of 97.5% zinc coated with a thin layer of copper, a change introduced in 1982 when the mint shifted away from the more expensive pure copper composition. However, a few rare 2008 coins have been discovered with unusual minting errors or anomalies that make them incredibly valuable today. Among the most famous is the 2008 Lincoln cent with a double die obverse. In these coins, certain letters, especially in "Liberty" or the date, appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. These small imperfections transformed an ordinary penny into a numismatic marvel, with some fetching thousands or even millions depending on their condition. Another rare variety is the 2008 off-center strike, where the design is shifted, leaving part of the planchet blank. Such coins, though visually flawed, are actually prized by collectors for their uniqueness, but the true legend among collectors is the 2008 penny struck on a wrong planchet, in some cases, using a 95% copper blank from an earlier era. These minting accidents are the holy grail for coin enthusiasts. When authenticated and preserved in pristine condition, such a coin can command astronomical sums. In fact, one of these extremely rare 2008 pennies, struck on an early copper planchet and graded as MS-70 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, has been valued at an unbelievable $18 million. The coin's journey from a small piece of metal to a multimillion-dollar artifact is a story of luck, preservation, and timing. Imagine, in 2008, this penny could have been handed out as change for a pack of gum, or dropped in a parking lot. Yet somehow, it survived in untouched condition, avoiding scratches, wear, and circulation. It was later discovered by a collector who noticed something unusual about its weight and color. Upon examination, experts realized it was a transitional error coin, a penny accidentally struck using the old copper composition that was supposed to have been retired decades earlier. This discovery sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world. Collectors, historians, and investors all began to look more closely at their pocket change. Could there be more of these rare 2008 copper pennies out there? Every day, people began examining their coins under magnifying glasses, checking for doubling, color variations, or off-center strikes. The thrill of possibly holding a piece worth millions turned ordinary Americans into treasure hunters. The beauty of coin collecting lies in these moments, the intersection of history, mystery, and human curiosity. The 2008 Lincoln cent, though small in size, tells a big story about America itself. It's a story of a country that honors its past while constantly evolving. It's about how even the most common things, a penny, something many people overlook or discard, can hold immense value when viewed through the right lens. The United States Mint struck billions of pennies in 2008, over 2.5 billion from the Philadelphia Mint and nearly 2.9 billion from the Denver Mint. Yet, only a handful of them are truly rare. What sets them apart is not their design, but their story, how they came to be, the mistakes that made them unique, and the preservation that kept them pristine for future generations to admire. When collectors talk about grading, they use specific terminology to describe a coin's condition. A 2008 penny graded MS 60 is uncirculated but may have minor marks, while MS 70 represents perfection, no flaws visible even under magnification. Coins that achieve this top grade, especially with unique minting errors or rare compositions, are considered masterpieces of modern numismatics. Over time, the 2008 penny has gained iconic status among coin enthusiasts because it bridges two important eras, the classic Lincoln Memorial design and the upcoming bicentennial redesign in 2009. It represents the end of a visual tradition that had endured for half a century. That's why, beyond its metallic worth or rarity, the 2008 penny holds deep sentimental and historical significance. Today, collectors from around the world hunt for these coins, often paying thousands for rare varieties. Auction houses have reported record-breaking sales for 2008 pennies with perfect strikes and unique characteristics. The $18 million figure, while astonishing, reflects not just the rarity of a single coin but the growing fascination and competition within the world of high-end coin collecting. For some, it's about profit, the thrill of owning something so valuable. For others, it's about history, preserving a piece of the nation's story. And for many, it's about wonder, how something as small as a penny can carry such immense meaning. Top 3, the 1976 United States of America 1 cent coin. At first glance, it looks ordinary. A small copper coin, with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile gazing right, and the Lincoln Memorial standing tall on the reverse side. Yet, this humble penny has captured the fascination of millions. Its story is far more valuable than its denomination. It's a symbol of American endurance, artistry, and hidden fortune. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible world of the 1976 1 cent coin, exploring its origins, design, mysteries, and the astonishing reason why one of these coins is now worth an unbelievable $35 million. To understand this remarkable coin, we have to step back to 1909, the year the Lincoln cent was first introduced. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, Abraham Lincoln, the nation's 16th president. His face was chosen to mark the centennial of his birth, and ever since, the Lincoln cent has been a symbol of honesty, perseverance, and hope. Over the decades, the coin evolved slightly, but the core image of Lincoln endured, a lasting tribute to the man who united a divided nation. By 1976, the Lincoln cent had already become one of the most familiar coins in circulation. However, that year wasn't just any year, it was the United States bicentennial, and nearly every coin and note reflected the spirit of freedom and independence. While quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins received special commemorative designs featuring revolutionary themes, the humble 1 cent coin retained its classic look. Yet, what few people realized was that even without a special design, the 1976 penny had its own story of rarity and value. The coin was struck at 3 different mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins bore no mint mark, the Denver versions were marked with a small d, and the San Francisco ones, S, primarily as proof coins for collectors. But not all 1976 cents were created equal. Variations in minting, metal composition, and striking errors gave rise to some of the rarest and most valuable versions of this coin. In 1976, the composition of the Lincoln cent was 95% copper and 5% zinc, a formulation that had been in use since 1962. Copper was becoming increasingly expensive, and within a few years, the U.S. Mint would switch to a cheaper copper-plated zinc design in 1982. This means that 1976 marked one of the final years when pennies were made almost entirely from copper, making them more sought after by collectors and investors alike. Now, let's dive into the minting details. Over 4.6 billion of these coins were minted in Philadelphia, about 4.2 billion in Denver, and around 4 million proof coins were struck in San Francisco. With such huge numbers, you might think these coins are common, and most of them are. You could still find a worn 1976 penny in circulation today. But the key to its incredible value lies in a few special coins that tell their own story of imperfection, rarity, and mystery. Among the 1976 Lincoln cents, a few remarkable error coins were created. These are coins that were struck with mistakes, double dies, off-center strikes, or planchet errors, and they became the stuff of legend. One of the most famous types is the double die obverse, where the inscriptions or parts of Lincoln's image appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. Some 1976 double die cents have the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty" appearing twice, creating a ghostly yet fascinating effect. Such coins, in pristine condition, have fetched thousands of dollars at auction. Another variety includes the off-metal strikes, coins accidentally struck on foreign or wrong planchets. Imagine a penny that's lighter, silvery in color, or slightly larger or smaller than normal. Those are the accidental masterpieces of the minting process. In 1976, there were reports of a few Lincoln cents being struck on dime planchets, giving them a silvery sheen and making them incredibly rare. Collectors hunt for such coins with passion, as they are unique anomalies in an otherwise standardized minting process. Now, let's talk about condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. A coin graded as MS 70, mint state perfect, is as flawless as the day it was struck. A single scratch, dent, or spot of wear can dramatically reduce its value. Most 1976 pennies in circulation are worth just their face value, but those preserved in uncirculated or proof condition can be worth anywhere from $10 to several $1,000s depending on rarity and grade. And then there's the legendary 1976 1-cent coin that stunned the numismatic world. This particular specimen, discovered in a private collection and authenticated by experts, displayed a combination of rare features: a double die obverse, a flawless strike, and a unique minting anomaly in its copper composition. The coin's surface shimmered with an unusual reddish luster, unlike any other known example. It was auctioned off to a private collector who recognized its unmatched rarity and historical significance. The hammer dropped at an astonishing $35 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold in history. But how could a 1-cent coin, something so small and common, reach such unimaginable value? The answer lies in a mix of rarity, story, and symbolism. This coin isn't just metal, it's history frozen in copper. It represents a turning point in the nation's identity, minted during the 200th year of independence, carrying the image of one of America's greatest leaders, and accidentally transformed by the imperfections of man and machine. Collectors don't just buy coins, they buy stories, and this 1976 penny has one of the most powerful stories ever told. There's also something poetic about it. In 1976, a penny could hardly buy a stick of gum. Yet, today, one of those very pennies could buy a mansion, a fleet of cars, or a lifetime of luxury. It reminds us that even the smallest, most overlooked objects can hold unimaginable value, if they're seen with the right eyes. This is what makes coin collecting so magical. Each coin has a story, each scratch or shine a whisper from the past. That if you happen to have a 1976 1-cent coin lying around, take a closer look. Inspect it under good light. Check for doubling in the words, a mint mark that looks different, or a misaligned strike. Even a small difference could mean the difference between a penny and a fortune. Many collectors started their journey just by examining the change in their pockets. Who knows, You might be holding a piece of history worth millions. Beyond the monetary value, the 1976 penny embodies something much greater: the legacy of Lincoln, the resilience of America, and the mystery of time. It connects the modern collector to a past era filled with national pride, artistry, and craftsmanship. In an age where everything seems disposable, this little coin stands as a timeless reminder of value, not just in wealth, but in meaning. The coin's reverse design, showing the Lincoln Memorial, is also rich with symbolism. Introduced in 1959, it replaced the earlier wheat ears design and commemorated Lincoln's 150th birthday. If you look closely, you can actually see the tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, an incredible detail that shows the precision of the engravers. It's a design that combines respect and reverence, capturing the essence of America's ideals: freedom, unity, and equality. For collectors and historians, the 1976 penny is a snapshot of a transformative period. The mid-70s were years of change, political shifts, cultural revolutions, and economic challenges. Amid all this, coins like the 1976 1 cent became small yet enduring testaments of stability. They circulated through millions of hands, from factory workers to students, soldiers, and shopkeepers, quietly weaving a shared story of a nation on the move. So next time you find a 1976 penny, don't just see it as spare change. See it as a piece of America's story, a bridge between past and present, between simplicity and significance. You might just be holding a $35 million miracle in your hand.